Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. There are reports that Boko Haram has been deploying the latest drone technology, among other sophisticated weaponry, against Nigerian troops in the insurgency war. What does this hold for hopes for an early restoration of peace and stability in the war-ravaged regions of Nigeria? For a conversation on this, we're now being joined by Col Hassan Stan-Labo, a retired Army officer and a security expert, President and Chief Executive Officer of Hague Security Consultants. Welcome to the program, Connor.
I appreciate that, Doctor.
Now, look, on this program, we talk about security all the time.
Okay.
And Leila and I, each time we laugh over security architecture. Because we keep hearing that government will change strategy, government will design a new security architecture. But Boko Haram appears to be getting stronger, contrary to what government spokespersons tell us. I mean, you are a security expert, you've been in the military. Is there something we're not getting right? And what are those things we're not getting right? And what should the security chiefs do to get it right?
Thanks so much, Dr. Abati and Leila. It's a pleasure being with you guys. Frankly speaking, I think I should first of all make some little clarifications. We keep saying Boko Haram is engaging us with far bigger weaponry or whatever and so on. Yes, that assertion is correct, but technically, I would say it is wrong. Wrong because we need to understand first and foremost that the Nigerian armed forces, or the army, so to speak, that is now more engaged in this Northeast affairs, is a regular army. Being a regular army, you are guided by conventions and rules of international war. There are weapons which you can use. There are weapons which can only be used against other equipment and not on human beings. And I will cite just one example. Boko Haram does not give a damn engaging human beings in direct confrontation with anti-aircraft weapons, weapons that are meant for aircraft, to bring down aircraft. You direct it in, you point it in direct road, that is shooting it in this direction, against human beings. You release a shot of that, nearly 100 human beings are down.
And
because it's
against the Geneva Convention.
Thank you, sir. But who would hold Boko Haram responsible? You try it as an army, a regular army, a nation's army. You might go to the International War Court. Was it ICC?
ICC, yeah. International Criminal Court.
Thank you, sir. So, why we will hesitate to use such weapons against them? They are damn free to use anything against you. To the ordinary eye, to the layman, to the civilian out there, oh, they are more powerful than we are. Can you see the way they are engaging us? It takes time to explain these things to the ordinary man that, look, it doesn't work out that way. And they cannot force us into breaching this international law of war.
Certainly, Colonel. But
yes, my dear.
I think the greater concern here is it's not about what weaponry Boko Haram are using, but how we can stop them from enacting or deploying that weaponry on us, the citizenry, right? So that comes down to intelligence, and that comes down to being able to ensure that we are a step ahead of Boko Haram, and they don't even get to the stage where they can shoot something up in the sky and knock down a plane with 100 people in it. And that's where it gets worrying, because the intelligence level of our army right now seems to be below par, and it doesn't seem to be doing the job, correct me if I'm wrong. And I say this because many security experts, and I've also found in my own investigative reports, many security experts have said that with satellites and drone technology, it is really not hard to whip Boko Haram off the face of this earth. So what is the problem here?
Thank you, and I think you've already pointed to one. One has to do with equipment and logistics. There are lots of perennial issues, I would say, that constitute huge challenges to the ongoing operations in the Northeast. And I keep classifying them into what I refer to as a big five, referring back to my classes in international relations, so we'll talk of the big five or so. And what are these?
Soldiers got all the best from Nigeria because you get well trained, you get to go to all the schools.
My country has really spent on me.
Nigeria's expense.
I must really thank my country. They have spent on me. A bloody son of a driver. Okay.
They take care of you guys.
Yeah, right. The military really exposes you to a lot. Like I said, the big five. And what are these big fives to me that really serves as impediment to this operation? Funding issues, manpower, equipment and logistics, training, welfare and motivation. These 5 issues have been overflogged, addressed, and what have you, all in conventional manner. I'm not airing my own personal opinion towards this. I want to see us begin to think out of the box in addressing these issues. When we take safe funding, I no longer believe that the Nigerian budget is enough to serve as source for funding of the Nigerian defense and national security. Because if that be the case, it means that the defense and national security will see itself competing for same meager resources on the table referred to as national budget. And it will be competing with several other very important ministries, which we cannot overlook. I'm talking about education and health. Those are my concerns. Definitely, they must take lion chunk if we need to. If government must meet its social contract with the people. Now, sir, so what are my options if the budgetary aspect is not enough a source? I'm thinking we should start looking in the direction of what Lagos State did, establishing a National Security Trust Fund, where we get these big-time oil companies and banks and so on to contribute, even if it means 1% of their gross income, 1% of their gross. Get we little workers like us to contribute our own little 1%. My 1% might be 5,000. Dangote's 1% might be 500 million. At the end of the day, it will be surprising to us all what we are able to build in that pot for the defense. That is one. Manpower. I don't see enough seriousness or urgency, to address the manpower issue. Like a country that is in war. We are just addressing it, as far as I'm concerned, as if we're in peacetime. And how do I mean? I expect that by now, given the depth of the manpower situation on ground, we should begin to contemplate recalling our reserves. All those who left service within 0 to 5 years from now should have been recalled. The able-bodied ones amongst them selected, huge incentives placed on the table to convince them that we want them to sign a 3 to 5 years contract with the Nigerian state and come back and serve their motherland again for between 3 to 5 years. With good incentives, people would come. With poor incentives, the way we are paying soldiers in the field, nobody, I can tell you, nobody would want to come. Because the average retiree, soldier retiree, is not happy with the Nigerian state as we speak. Am I making some sense?
Yes, we're listening. Good. Yes.
So we should bring back these guys so as to be able to beef up manpower in the field. We need manpower not just in the fighting role. We also need manpower in the, for rear area activities. Having the covered areas or locations or whatever, and then the regular force will have to move forward, all right? What happens to the land you are leaving behind or the areas you have just recovered? It must be occupied by civil authority. That is the police and so on. In the police, we have our own manpower issues in the police. So we don't even have enough of civil authority occupying those lands behind. So how the military is able to sort out some manpower from within its fold to go along with this little element of civil authority on ground and man those areas so that while we move forward, insurgents don't turn around again like we are already seeing and taking over those same locations. And that's why whenever you invite or convince your IDPs to come back home, they come. Within 1-2 months, they are attacked again, and they all go back. The few ones that are alive go back. We must begin to look outside the box in addressing some of these issues. We could go on and on and on.
Well, Colonel, I agree with you that definitely we need to think out of the box. And some of these ideas that you have given about, 5 areas, funding, manpower, training, manpower, and, welfare, and motivation, equipment, and logistics, yes. I think will be useful to the service chiefs. But on a personal note, I don't know when you retired. Do you mean that if they were to recall you to be part of the reserves, you will answer the national call?
I left service about, say, 10 years. If you call me now, and besides, I must be
because now you are wearing Babariga. I don't see you carrying gun to go and fight them.
Or you could work in office administratively.
But, the point you made about professionalism, that, soldiers are bound by Geneva Convention and yes. all kinds of codes. Yes. Will you recommend that maybe perhaps one of the things that the service chiefs should consider, maybe the recruitment of mercenaries, since this is an asymmetrical war, which does not follow basic rules. So we can't be treating epilepsy and be applying the drugs meant for ringworm.
Mm-hmm. I just fell short of going into that area of mercenary and so on. And even besides that, maybe if we shall have the opportunity to look at or to set an agenda for the Honorable Minister, yeah. I would have loved to talk about the possibility of we revisiting the Army's table of equipment. As a fighting army, as a regular army, you maintain what we call a table of equipment, which embodies your entire holding, all right, in terms of weaponry and what have you. Maybe if we revisit it and beef up the firepower of the smaller units, that is to say, the section level, a section is 10 men, platoon level, which is 30 men, company level, which is 100 plus. Whatever it is, the level of firepower they were supposed to be, actually, we beef it up a bit. For instance,
well,
you are not...
Colonel, please, if you don't mind, just hold your thoughts there. We'll take a short break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, you can continue. We'll take a short commercial break now. Don't go away. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're still watching The Morning Show here on the Arise News channel. And with us in the studio still is Col Hassan Stan-Labo, a retired Army officer and security expert, President and Chief Executive Officer of Hicks Security Consultants. Colonel, before we went on break, you were talking about thinking out of the box, what to do with manpower, what to do about recruitment, to strengthen the Nigerian military's capability to be able to address the Boko Haram challenge.
Yeah. I got to the point where I was trying to explain how I think we could enhance on our firepower, okay, without breaching the war convention, the convention, the international
yes.
law of war, yeah. And then by that, in the course of that, I was trying to explain that it is important maybe we revisit our table of equipment and see how we can beef up the holding at the section level, at the company level, and the platoon level. When we do this sort of beef up, at the end of the day, the resultant effect is for us to have enhanced firepower against the insurgents, since we cannot begin to breach and carry the sort of weaponry which they carry that are not meant for human beings, like firing anti-aircraft weapons against human beings directly. It's unheard of.
But, Colonel, you also made a point about a national security trust fund.
Yes, please.
Now, I know I once sat on the board of the Lagos State Security Trust Fund, but that was largely for the police, although we provided resources for OP MESA and all of that. Now, I also know that the National Assembly has been talking about a police fund.
Yes.
That Nigerians have been asking for to help the police. But isn't the military in a different class? Do you think that a security trust fund for the military, can really serve the purpose? Because we're talking about billions of dollars, not just the kind of, we give policemen vehicles, we give OP MESA, some equipment, arms and ammunition. Do you think that's the way to go? And even now, you know, defense takes the lion's share of Nigeria's budget. Yeah. Is money really the problem? Is motivation not more of a problem? And manpower more of a problem than funding?
To a greater extent, meeting those other elements, motivation, manpower, and so on, you need money to drive the process. Let's be frank. Let's be very frank and fair. Motivation is not just tapping a soldier behind and telling him, well done, you are doing a great job. It doesn't just end there. He's doing a great job. I mean, his wife at home has got to know that I'm not seeing this guy here, but thank God we are not starving. I'm not seeing this guy here, but thank God we are not going through certain challenges. Okay? And besides, let us face it. And let's be very realistic. As the man lays down his life and does all what he needs to do for his country, at the end of the day when he comes out, he should be able to also turn and tell his country, thank you. Today, I'm telling my country, thank you for educating me. Because if they had not educated me, I know I grew up in a family where my parents wouldn't have been able to give me a university education. And the army gave me all that, from secondary level at the age of 13 till date, with 2 master's degrees and so on. I should be able to thank my country. But monetarily, I am a nobody. In their own case, they don't have such education, which after service, they can fall back to something. I have established a company. They should have something to fall back to. They should have something to fall back to. Look at your national health insurance scheme. How can you beef it up without taking into cognizance what all these companies will tell you? No, you know, he's at level this, so he's not entitled to this. A man who is coming out of an operational area where he has spent 3-4 years, where certain internal issues, health issues, have developed because of his long stay in mission area, you now tell him, no, you are not entitled to treatment on pancreas or heart or this or that. Where is the man going to source the money to do all that, to treat himself? So the point I'm making is that he should be entitled to 100% health care. Every headache.
But the point you were making about security trust fund for the military.
Yes, sir. Good. To avoid what I want to call a donor fatigue, we could merge the security agencies and the military into one fund to start with. And then I agree that the defense often, you know, attracts so much, given for obvious reasons which we all know. It could be well worked out in such a way that we really take care of the police, because one thing is clear. If we don't take care of the police, it means we shall continue to every day pull out the military to come and play internal security duties, which some of us detest completely, because statutorily that shouldn't be our role. But we cannot fault the government, because no responsible government will fold its arms and see lives and property at risk and say no, because it is not the statutory responsibility of the military to perform internal security duties, I'm not going to deploy them. Mind you, in the first place, the government is more wary and conscious of its social contracts with the people to protect them and their properties. So what we need is to make sure we put our police in good shape. Such a funding will be able to take care of that. We widen the scope as much, like you said, it will attract, it needs billions upon billions or huge sums to come into such a purse. Yes, we see, like I talked about, 1% of the gross of all these oil companies and all these banks and so on. There are lots of big companies in Nigeria. And then a presidential appeal to the more endowed ones in our midst, the Dangotes and so on, will make them cough out some money to assist on an annual basis. A good number of them are good-hearted people. I know the greatest fear some of them have is, will the money be spent actually on what we are bringing it out for? A good number of them are real good-hearted people.
That's a very good point to make. I do agree with you on that. And now that we have the new cabinets in place, we have a new defense minister as well. I'd like to get your opinion on the new defense minister. This is someone who has served as a governor, someone who is also a member of the Abacha caucus, and Buhari has now appointed him into this ministry. What should his agenda be right now? But firstly, what's your take on him?
In the first place, I think we are lucky in the sort of fellow we have as a defense minister. I did serve as his ADC way back in my days as a young officer. I was ADC to him, and so I really got a close shot of who he is. He lives a Spartan lifestyle. That is to say, he's not the...
he's not the pepper souping...
Thank you, thank you. His lifestyle is just like that of the president. Spartan, you know. He's not materialistic. Those things don't attract him. You are wasting your time if you come to him with things like that. And these are the sort of people, as far as I'm concerned, we need today in this country if our collective patrimony must really be protected. Good. Professionally, he is somebody who can deliver. I see the media always talking about the issue of age on him and so on and so forth. Well, I'm talking of what I know about him.
Competence.
Yes, his professional competence is sound. And I think the Minister of Defense can deliver. The only thing now is, like we discuss, we continue to see how we can help him set an agenda for him. If I may want to go in that direction, I will tell you that I expect that he would be preoccupied, agitated with the situation in the Northeast and trying to see how he can bring his wealth of experience, which we all know him for, to bear. He's quite exposed operationally and so on. He's been in Liberia. You mentioned it. If we are able to set a good agenda for him, General Magashi is a capable hand that can really, I think, pull us out of the mess we find ourselves.
Well, Colonel, I mean, before we go, recently in Katsina, the governor was meeting with the bandits, and there's been some back and forth, you know, encouraging the bandits to lay down arms, some kind of motivation to get them to support the peace process. Should the governor of a state be negotiating with bandits? Should we be giving money to bandits, you know, to get some kind of policy of appeasement in place? We don't have more time. We have just about a few seconds to go. Quickly, do you think that's a good strategy?
Well, he's the man
to get kidnapped victims back, and then you give
30
them
more
money.
were released yesterday, I think.
Yeah,
yeah.
You know, it's like encouraging them, isn't it?
He's the man on ground. If he thinks it works for me, it works for my states, we can really make a headway. Fine and good. Let's see how far he goes.
But do you think we can eventually win the war against Boko Haram? Is it a winnable war?
We can, if we are determined. We can, if we allow our spirit of resilience to come out to bear on us. We can, if we have a government that has the political will to forge on with this war and see it to an end. We can, if we have a house of a legislative arm of government that is ready to commit resources to see that really the military gets what it wants.
Well,
Thank you very much, Colonel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish we could continue and continue, but you can be sure we'll invite you again, and you know, I hope you will oblige us when we come back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Colonel. That is all that we have right now on this segment.